Welcome to BAM, Badass Moms with Lori and Jenny. We are moms on a mission to share women's stories about life, fitness, aging, relationships, travel, and much more. Hello, friends, and thanks for listening. I just wanted to take a second to give you a quick reminder about subscribing to the show. If you have not already, just take a moment and do so. This will make sure that you never miss a daily bite or an upcoming episode. And in addition to that, if you have a few extra moments and like to drop us a review, we'd really appreciate it. And there's also a sponsor of the show located at the bottom of all of our episodes. Once again, thank you for listening. Thank you for being badass. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us on another episode of the BAM with Lori and Jenny. Today, we have a super badass mom, Becca Borden, and Jenny is going to jump in and tell us a little bit more about Becca.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're super excited to have Becca Borden with us. Becca is a PhD behavioral scientist, a certified menopause coach. So we have a ton of questions for her. She has a business called Hot Stuff Coaching for Women. She was in corporate HR for many years and did kind of a mid-career pivot. And she is the mom of 2 adult kids, 1 son, 1 daughter, both in their 20s. So we're super excited to hear all about Becca's journey and have some fun. So welcome to the show.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Welcome, Becca. We are so excited. I love, first off, the name of your business, and it's called Hot Stuff Coaching.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to get the background on that. I can relate. I am in my mid-40s and I am in it. I am 45 and all the things like that come with perimenopausal, just the anxiety, the sleepless nights, the like sweating and actually just like stinking. I never thought that I stunk before, but now I'm like, oh my gosh. So I want to talk about all those things, but let's go back to, where it all started, how you got a PhD. That's a lot of, studying and education and all the things and what kind of led you in that path. And let's hear all about it.
Okay. All right. Well, so, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, I think when I look back, I was always interested in helping people. And, as most kids do, you look at a variety of different things. What could I do? And in high school, actually, psychology captured my interest. But it was psychology in the way of understanding why people do the things that they do, what motivates them. I love sitting in an airport and predicting which seat people are going to sit in, in a row. I love that. And then understanding the theory behind it and why they make the choices they do and so forth. And so going into college, I said, okay, perfect area to major in. And I focused on that area. And coming out of that, then you can't do a whole lot with psychology without getting a graduate degree. And, people were either like, oh, I really want to be a therapist. And I knew I didn't want to do that. I knew I didn't, as much as I want to help people, I don't want to bring their problems home with me. And that's what I do. So I took a behavioral route and found an area called industrial and organizational psychology where we basically apply an understanding of human behavior, motivation, goal setting, all of those things to the workplace. And so I got my PhD, went into the workplace and started applying it, which was wonderful. I mean, I loved being able to do that and use what I'd learned in the workplace. But over time, I was doing more programmatic things, doing things at higher levels. And I love the strategic stuff. I loved it. But I wasn't getting that whole, I don't feel like I'm helping anybody. So, hey, that's great. We came up with a fabulous vision, but I didn't feel like I was really making a difference to individuals, to the corporate profit, maybe, but not to individuals. And so I kind of backed out and focused on my kids for a little bit and said, I need to find what I want to do. And over time, I explored a number of different things, all of it related to health and fitness, because that was a passion of mine, looking at positive psychology and all of these things. And as I'm still going through this decision process, what I want to do, I got cancer. And going through the treatment forced me into a menopause and achieving that, they took all my estrogen.
What kind of cancer was it that you got diagnosed with?
Breast cancer.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it was estrogen positive. So no estrogen. So immediately fully in menopause. And I had been having perimenopause symptoms. So it wasn't like it was a surprise, but it changed so dramatically when I started taking the medication that shut down the estrogen. And that was when I started looking around for solutions. First I asked doctors, and I got, prescriptions, but nothing that was really making enough of a difference. It would create additional symptoms, not solve the symptoms I had. And so I started looking around, and I was amazed that there was not more support out there. So this was 5 years ago, not that long ago, but things have changed a lot in 5 years. And when I did dig in, I found, strategies, behavioral strategies around self-care. So managing your sleep, your stress, your nutrition, your exercise, that making all of those things, making changes to all of those things to adapt to the way your body has changed is what can make a difference for women. And so when I realized that menopause coaching was a real live thing, I said, this is what I want to do. I feel a calling. I want to do this. I want to help women first learn earlier what this is, recognize what's happening to them, and then do the things that are going to make them more comfortable through menopause, but also make them healthier. Because, there's women, when we don't realize this because it happens so much later and nobody talks about it, but what happens during menopause changes our entire health profile. So women are healthier than men until they pass through menopause. And then the data says that their health risks go up and they're not as healthy as men. And it's because of what happens during menopause. And so that doesn't have to be that way. And if we do these other things, then we can have better health in the long run. So,
it's funny because first of all, I wish I would have met you 4 years ago, 5 years ago, because I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I had a death in the family, so a lot of stress. So I just attributed it to that. But I was like not able to function basically. And so one of the things I'm curious about is I've always been an avid, exerciser. I eat pretty clean. Like my sleep started to get wonky. So but you feel like you're doing all the right things. So what are those habits that really like move the needle?
Well, sleep is most important. So if you need to get 8 to 9 hours of sleep, and you don't realize all the different things that are going on while you're sleeping. So in particular, or as an example, sleep affects hormones that regulate appetite and satiation. So understanding or recognizing that you're full. So if you're not sleeping, then you can't do that. If you're not sleeping, it impacts your stress. And then all of these things come back and exacerbate those menopause symptoms.
So good sleep helps you, function. But what are some tricks that you have up your sleeve that can help people get good sleep? Because I think one of the things that I experience, it's just hard to sleep, right? Our minds are spinning. You're thinking about all the things. You're hot. You're like, so do you have any tricks for that?
Well, it's funny too that you say that it's well known that sleep is an issue, but because when I went to my doctor and I found a certified, like a menopause specialist doctor, which I had to do a lot of research on. But the first thing she told me was, we need to get your sleep in check. And I was like, but that's not my biggest problem. I was like, what are you talking about? And so I did not see the connection there. So I'd love to hear more about this.
Yeah. And it is, it is widespread. Everybody knows or recognizes when you get a poor night's sleep, the next day you have trouble concentrating, you have trouble with your mood. Well, your body is and brain in this case, in particular, is already struggling to function with less estrogen. And now you've added that burden on top of it. And it just makes it that much more difficult for you to recover. And I've got a whole 10-minute video on all the things you can do to help you sleep. But I'll give you the highlights of the things that are most helpful. One, exercise. So making sure that you've been exercising always helps you sleep. I've looked at patterns with clients that sat down to look at their sleep scores and said, on the days that you exercise, did you notice that you got a better night's sleep? So that helps. A big one for me, Lori, was breathing strategies. So that's where, you have to do a variety of things to get the brain to stop spinning. So breathing strategies is one. And there are apps that can help with this. I've tried Calm, and I really like Headspace. And they're geared towards meditation, but basically you adapt those same breathing strategies in stressful situations and for sleep.
Yeah.
And so it's all about getting your brain to shut down. You can do things like read. before you go to bed to help you shut down if you've got something on your mind. Anything that helps your mind shut down. There are hygiene factors like, I mean, we all should know this, right? Dark room, cooler temperatures is something. So when you start having the night sweats and the hot flushes, you go, oh, it'd be better if it was cooler. Well, yeah, it would. So ideal sleeping temperature is like 64. So lighter, yeah. So you want to keep the room really cool. You want it quiet, noise machines, things like that if you've got noise. Now, all of this is harder if you're a caregiver. And more women who are going through menopause are caregivers, either to their children or to their parents. And I don't have a lot of great solutions for that. You can take naps during the day to help you function, but the more sleep you lose through that kind of thing, the more you're going to struggle. So that's challenging. Other things to help you sleep, not drinking liquids approximately 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed.
Not peeing every couple hours.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of things you can do around. It's not just that, it's strengthening your pelvic floor so that you can hold it longer. So one of the things that's going on as you approach that menopause point, so during perimenopause, so your ovaries are running out of eggs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they do that, they start to shrink. And think of a very, like if you packed your suitcase to go on a trip and it's very, very full, and then you pull something out and it's a soft side, it kind of collapses, right?
Yeah.
Well, your pelvic floor sits on top of all these organs that are packed tightly in there, and your bladder sits on top of your pelvic floor. So as those ovaries shrink, your pelvic floor doesn't have the same support that it once did.
Interesting.
And so your bladder, if you have to be doing things to support your pelvic floor, and then that can help you sleep longer.
Can vaginal estrogen also help you sleep through the night? Like without, like I heard it can help with like urgency, frequency of urination.
It can help with some genitourinary symptoms. It's
Okay.
not its primary focus in terms of a solution, but it can.
Yeah.
I mean, more, if anybody, for those that are having genitourinary symptoms, I recommend going to a pelvic floor specialist. And there's a lot of different exercises you can do both to strengthen and to learn to relax your pelvic floor that can have a longer term impact.
Okay.
Awesome. And then you were also talking about nutrition is a huge part of things. And you can talk a little more about, some nutrients that we should be paying attention to. And then obviously the exercise, which you touched on, if you're exercising and moving your body, it's going to help you sleep better. But specifically, personally, as you said, are these things that you tried because you knew you were supposed to try them, or you tried because we're just like, hey, if I start like, did you do it because it's what you learned, or did you do it because you're like, oh, well, let's see if this works kind of thing?
So I had already been trending in that direction because it was working, but there are other things that I've been resisting. So with nutrition and with all of this, but particularly nutrition and exercise, doing the same things that you did in your 30s, your 20s and 30s doesn't work the same way. And so we all realize this, but it's because for example, with nutrition, the lower declining levels of estrogen impacts your gut microbiome and things change down there. And so, for example, fiber moves to the forefront. So the first thing I do with every meal is look and go, okay, where am I getting my fiber? Actually, my friend has nicknamed me the fiber whore.
Literally, that's what we'll name the podcast.
Fiber whore. I like it.
Can I say whore?
Yeah.
We're
explicit. You can say whatever.
So one of the things I do with clients is I go through what are the health risks that are most relevant to you. And for virtually every health risk that women face coming out of menopause, eating more fiber will help improve your odds and reduce the risk. So it's just a very smart thing to do, but your gut has adjusted and it needs more fiber. Yes, you still need protein and carbs, but fiber becomes more important. Drinking water also becomes more important. You should be drinking half your body weight in ounces of water per day.
I love this thing. It doesn't have the ounces on it, but I know if I get 3, I'm like, okay, I'm good.
One's dressed up in this jacket that I wear a lot and carried around a water bottle. And he said, "Look at me, I'm mom," making fun of me. And now both of them have come around and gone, okay, yeah, we need to drink more water.
But Becca, here's my problem is like, I'm really bad about drinking it during the day. And then I'll be laying there at night and being like, I did not drink enough water today. So then I chug the water and then I have to go to the bathroom and then I can't sleep.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is. And so this is where the coaching comes in, and we have to change your habits. And so in the coaching sessions, we look at, how are you doing things now and how can we make adjustments so that you can get enough water earlier in the day or throughout the day and reserve that time right before bed so that you aren't sending yourself to the bathroom multiple times.
Yeah.
So first of all, everything that I recommend in terms of nutrition and so forth, these are not diets. These are changes to the way you eat.
Yeah.
And so what I advocate in my practice, and I learned this through my certification program, is portions. And so you can use your hand to size up portions for the different categories of food. And so, for example, with fruits and vegetables, it's a closed fist. That's one serving, and you want 5 to 6 servings per day. So you primarily get those from fruits and vegetables, and you can also get them through various whole grain carbs. Whole grain carbs, it's an open fist or cupped hand, I should say, cupped hand, and you can have up to 8 of those per day.
Okay.
So I prefer to do it that way rather than to try and go, okay, well, how much of this did I eat, and therefore how many grams did I get? But I'm pretty sure the recommendation is 45 to 50.
Okay. And I'm guessing we all eat like 10.
Yeah, I think actually 10 to 15 is the average for an adult. And again, it's not about counting it. It's about going into your meal and being conscious of what you've eaten throughout the day. And, you get to dinner and you look back on your day and you go, oh crap, I haven't had any fiber. So then you might want to build yourself a salad full of with brown rice and beans and lots of fresh vegetables and really get your fiber up for the day. Or strategies like, if you've got control, to be able to look at each meal and say, what's my fiber content in this meal? What's my fiber source, I should say, in this meal?
Yeah. It's funny, Lori and I, right before we hopped on with you, I was telling her about how I found since my kids left, we have to be intentional about our time. Meaning, like when the kids are in the house, things are thrust upon you. You've got their activities. You're just going from one thing to the next. You have to be at dinner at a certain time. And I find that now, if we want to do something, we have to, yes, you have flexibility and freedom, but you have to also be like, what do we want to do today? We want to make sure we get out of the house and do something fun. So what does that look like? What do we want to do? Instead of just like sitting there and waiting for something to come your way, because it's not going to happen. And so it's just, this is the same way, right? Like you have to be intentional about it because you can't be lazy anymore about it.
But you kind of have to plan, even if you're not a planner, right? Because as Jenny said, if you're like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, or, the day comes and you're like, oh, I don't have the right groceries in my house, or, you're like, oh, I'll just eat this and I'll start, it's exercise, diet, I say diet, but just healthy eating and, sleep, like telling you, I am going to try to go to bed at this time, not like, oh, I'll go to bed when I'm tired, right? Like having, I say all the time, they say like habits of successful people, right? Like, boring as it can sometimes be, like it's really having that schedule with flexibility, right? Things happen.
Right.
But I think those are just really good reminders and the reminder that we are going to fail, and that's okay. You're going to have those days where you're like, I didn't sleep well. I ate really bad. And, I just didn't do the right things, but the next day will be better. Right. And I think
the next meal will be better.
The next meal. Right. And I think we're going to say something like stronger, smarter, kinder, right? Like, and talking about what that means. And I think we need to just be open to giving ourselves forgiveness because we have a lot going on, right? A lot.
Yeah, we do. And it's, you learn, I mean, or at least I did, as a working mom, you had to be more planful. We would plan our menus out at the beginning of the week and then shop. Of course, now I do it like every 2 to 3 days. Now the kids are gone because we don't know what's going to come, but it is about being planful. It is, our bodies are more comfortable being regular, but they can deal with disruption. You just have to come back to it. Jenny, you were saying, I wish I'd known you back in the day. I mean, it ain't over. I was 54. I was diagnosed with cancer. So I'm 59 now. And so you were asking about, like, did these things come to me or did I learn about them? So I fought strength training since I turned 40. Like, I did this big exercise crunch with a friend of mine when we turned 40. Oh, we were so proud of ourselves. And this personal trainer kept saying, you need to be doing strength training. You need to be doing strength training. And I fought it because I was like, I put on muscle real easily and I don't want to bulk up. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do it. And what I came back to with after cancer and when I learned about menopause was we are losing muscle at a rate of 1% to 2% per year starting in our late 30s. And so you actually have to be doing strength training to retain that muscle. And I'm coming up on a milestone where we start losing 3% of our muscle per year.
60.
So at 60. And so you have to transition to doing you don't have those hardcore cardio workouts that you used to do when you were younger. They're not having the same impact that they used to. You need movement, but even for particularly for people who don't enjoy exercise, just walking is a great thing. The best exercise is the exercise you'll do.
Yes.
And doing something is better doing nothing, all the catchphrases. But you've got to be doing, if you want to remain active and you want to remain healthy. So if you look at all the different health risks, the other thing that shows up as reducing your risk is strength training. So, I mean, those are the big impact areas of each of those three categories.
Becca, I think, Jenny and I have always been like huge, like we've always been, I think you have, Jenny, always been into strength training and enjoy it. And I think it's interesting because, having a background in fitness myself, I see women that are very hesitant to do it. And once they get going and they start feeling and seeing the difference, and for many, it's just feeling, not necessarily seeing right away, like not only they just feel stronger. I don't know if you've seen this. Oprah is now on this massive strength training.
Yeah. She's lifting heavy. Yeah.
I think she's a huge inspiration because it's like showing that someone that maybe wasn't into that before. What's that?
And I think she's about 70 now.
Yeah. And she's like doing deadlifts and squats and all the things. I think it really builds that confidence as a woman. And back to what I was saying is maybe not all the women jump into it and start to fall in love with it, but I've never trained someone that started to do it and then just hated it. Like there's always some like gratitude towards it.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that you got to get them started. And so this is again where the coaching comes in is the hardest part is getting started and keeping the habit. And so, with every client, I try to find ways for them to fit it into their lives because you don't see quick results. Yeah. So it can take some time to see the results. And so it's really, really key to get them started and into a habit that they'll stick to. But once they see the results,
she's going to be 80 and she lifts every day now, like light weights. I'm trying to get her to lift a little bit heavier, but she lifts light weights, but she didn't used to. Like this is something that she's done in the last, I don't know how many years. It's never too late to start unless you are no longer on this earth,
Say my target audience is women 40 to 60 because that's somewhere in there, they're in the menopause transition. But coming out of it, I mean, it again, this whole muscle loss thing, that isn't menopause, that's aging. And it just happens to hit women at the same time that we're going through the menopause transition. But men are having the same thing happened. So it's good for aging to do strength training.
Now, Lori, I don't know if you are ready for this yet, but I do want to ask some questions about back when you were in corporate HR, but I don't want to until you're ready.
Let's jump into it. Let's talk about. So I wanted to get clarification on that, Becca, because you did say like you were in the corporate world, and I wanted to clarify: were you in the corporate world using your degree, or were you in the corporate world working and doing a different in a different industry? I just wanted to clarify that.
So I was using my degree, but it was across industries. So I started out in consulting using my degree, and I was primarily consulting to HR organizations. And then when I moved into Sun Microsystems was my first gig after consulting, I was still supporting a consulting group that was delivering functions around employee selection and retention. And then when I moved, and then I moved into other roles within Sun where I was more broadly doing organizational development work. And so that's the direction that I went to. But then I went, so that was tech, and then I went into telecom briefly, and then ended up at Vail Resort. So I've worked across a lot of industries.
Yeah. Well, you and I both have CTI training, like you're certified in CTI coach.
Yeah.
And we both were at level 3. We have some similarities, which is funny. And yeah, Lori, a lot of times organizational psychology ends up doing HR type stuff because you're dealing with human performance. But one of the things I'm curious about is when you were in the workplace and you were going through this, because you were still in corporate when this happened. Is that correct?
When it started, I was in corporate. So looking back, I didn't understand when I was in corporate that I was going through perimenopause. But absolutely, I was having perimenopause symptoms.
How did that play out, and how did it affect your day-to-day work? Because I think that this is the conversation that is just starting to happen. I did not, as I said, realize that's what was going on. And my day-to-day work was incredibly impacted. So I'm just curious how it played out and what support you, if any.
Like my best period of corporate life.
Yes.
It really wasn't. Of course, with age, you're moving into higher level positions that have more and more stress.
Yeah.
So one of the things that happens when you're doing that, so everybody knows the fight or flight system. So your body's producing more cortisol, right, to deal with the stress to help you handle that. Well, fun fact, cortisol and estrogen are produced from the same base molecule. So if you're stressed, all of your supply of that molecule is going towards the cortisol, and there's not enough left over for the estrogen. So you're actually making your menopause symptoms worse.
Oh,
if
wow.
you're not managing your stress. And so again, this is one of those things that I look back on and I go, oh my God, well, no wonder. And it's like, I have this incredible memory, and I would I'll never forget, this was actually at level 3. I got into a team meeting, and it was one of those things where, I'd been running hard, and we had a new manager in place who wanted a presentation on something. He'd asked for something like a week or two in advance. In the middle, I'd done this 2-day trip with my client to New York, and I was jet lagged, and I was, I was exhausted. So no sleep, stressed. And I show up at this team meeting, and he asks for the presentations, and I go, oh my God, never in my career done that. Never, ever. I never did it again either. But, it was, I look back and I go, if I had known and could have managed my symptoms better, had more focus on that, I was putting every ounce of energy I had into trying to be effective in the job. And I was actually making it worse because I wasn't taking care of myself. So it absolutely plays out. I will say the symptoms I experienced on a day-to-day basis, I would have just more, I wasn't as cognitively as clear as I'd been before. I would have mood swings. So, and it was not, most of the time people didn't see it, but if I got blindsided, then I didn't, with something that I didn't have the same control over my emotions that I had previously.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because that experience was so profound for me, so profoundly negative.
Yes.
For me, that since I started, one of the things I've wanted to do is to support women who are in that situation, because there was zero support. I mean, of course, there was zero recognition that this is an issue. And if it is an issue, well, it's your issue.
Yeah.
It's not, hey, this is happening to you. This is happening to women. Let's help you figure it out. Which, like, I've got a friend and client right now who, as soon as she started exhibiting some of those symptoms, her manager said, hey, let's talk offline. What's going on with you? And this was a male manager.
Good.
They'd been through training.
Yeah.
In what to watch for. And this is, she's a high performer. And he said, based on this behavior, something's going on with her. And he gave her what she needed to take care of herself. So I interviewed women. I finally got to, what can I do to help? And I interviewed women the first part of this year. And I put together a video and I've got a LinkedIn newsletter ready to go on how to manage your menopause symptoms at work.
I love it.
And it's based on science. So there's some of the tips are science based and some of them are tips from women who lived it.
Yeah.
And had suggestions.
You said something that just really struck me because we always tell our managers, if somebody's performance has changed drastically, the first question should be, what's going on? And that's not the first question. It's usually the last question, if it's asked at all. And if somebody had said to me, what's going on? Like, I'd recently been promoted and then all of a sudden I feel like the shit hit the fan, right? And so if somebody said to me, hey, what's going on? You just do not seem like yourself. You don't seem like you're struggling. What's going on? And supported, if you have that conversation, like you said, he said, let's figure out how we can make this work. Then you're not, to your point, you're not working harder to try to fix the situation. You actually can take a breath and take care of yourself, which will fix the situation.
Exactly. Nice summary, Jenny.
I didn't think about that before. So that's super helpful.
Yeah, no, I love all that. I mean, I think communication, right? Like it goes a long way.
Yeah.
And so, we got a ways to go there probably.
Yeah, we do.
But so let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about your kids. Your kids are in their 20s. Let's talk about your path. Obviously, you were working a little bit of corporate as they were younger and growing, and then juggling that. What you do to relax and actually enjoy your time, your free time.
So my son Jake is a mechanical engineer. So he graduated from Cal Poly a year ago, and he is such a skiing fan, and in particular mountaineering. So he likes to climb mountains and ski down. So he missed Colorado so much living in California that he has now taken a job in Eagle and is back in Colorado, which is a lot of fun. We don't see a ton of him during the winter because you got to go on the ski slope to see him. Even this last season, he got more than 50 ski days in.
Oh my, not a good season for anybody outside the state of Colorado. It was a horrible season. So that's impressive.
Yeah, it was absolutely horrible, and yet he would go out under like horrible conditions too. But he was so committed. But so he's on his path, right, finding his way. My daughter she'll graduate from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Prescott, Arizona, and she very much finding her way. So she really wanted to be in the military, and she was disqualified because she has a nut allergy, and so she kind of shook her. Well, it's crazy to think about. And so many people go, oh, I can't believe that they disqualify her. And it's like, well, yeah, certain jobs, she could function in those jobs with it. But when you see them have an allergy attack and how it can come on and how it can disable them, it makes sense. It makes sense. I do think that they could do a little more. And there are some civilian positions working with the military that she's now considering. And so, we'll see. But she's very much exploring her path and where she wants to go. She wants some adrenaline. She wants some excitement there in her life, whether it's travel or whatnot. And so she's very much exploring that at the moment. She's currently living in LA, so she's exploring that whole adventure of learning about the big city after growing up in suburban Denver. She's been surfing on Venice Beach and playing volleyball on another beach. I don't remember which one. She just did a beach hike, and so that's what she's doing. I do a lot of camping, hiking, running. So I haven't done my run today. I'm gonna have to do that right after this. And I'm definitely one of those people, Lori, that you were talking about, that like once I committed to the strength training and I got stronger, like I'm really feeling good. And it's not that my son wants me to go run a full marathon with his girlfriend. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. But when I'm out there and I'm doing an activity, I feel so good. Paddling. I love to go paddle boarding and kayaking. Typical Colorado girl. I like to be outside.
Yeah. All those things are awesome. I think, as we always talk about, like making sure your bucket's full, that you are ready to roll with all of your clients and help them be their best selves. I think that's awesome. And then, looking at what you're looking forward to. So your business that you currently have, your hot stuff coaching, how long have you been doing that specifically? And do you have any additional plans or just to continue doing that or branching out to do some other business ideas?
So I've been doing the coaching for 2 years. So I'm really getting ramped up, but I've started expanding. So again, for me, it's about the mission. The mission is what's most important to me. And so I've started expanding into doing more informational and awareness types of things. So I'm working on something right now for a nonprofit healthcare system to help their providers become more aware of what women are going through and what they can do to help. And so doing more of that, I'm also looking at workshops. And I'd love to do a retreat. I need a little more help to pull it together, but I'd love to do like a weekend retreat in the mountains where you give women a sense of here's what managing menopause can look like. It's you eat the way that you need to eat to support your body during post menopause actually, and you have some strength training options, you have some movement options, you do some stress relief, some breathing exercises, maybe some mindfulness, along the way, so people can sample all of the different things and get a sense of what it's like to do that. So those are all things that are coming in the future for that.
If you want a collaborator, listen to the episode we did with Sean Brokeman. I will connect you with her if you're interested, but I just, as soon as you said retreats, I was like, oh, you two need to talk. She does adventure retreats, and she did one recently where she did bring in some wellness, nutrition, menopause support, that kind of stuff. So you could be a powerhouse.
Yeah, that'd be great because I'm looking for somebody that, can really shoulder some of the load along the way.
Sure. I love the idea of retreats because I think they either can continue to help women along the journey that they're currently already maybe doing those good things for themselves, or it can be that spark and reset, where it's like just that, or, they just need to surround themselves and know they're not alone. It's also the most important thing because you feel kind of lonely sometimes, like, you're not alone, but you feel that way, right? But then you go
right.
kind of event. Especially a retreat, you're surrounded by women that are supporting each other and can share their stories and build that camaraderie and friendship. Like that's one of the most important things is gaining a new friend that can be there for you and that can listen. We all love our spouses, but they are, wired differently.
Even if they're female too, they're still wired.
Right, they're still wired. Yeah, I was going to say partner because I'm like, every person is different. And sometimes when you're in a partnership, it's nice to go and surround yourself with randoms and become friends with them.
Yes.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. You never know who you'll meet.
That's right. I love this. I can't wait to hear about your retreat. So
yeah, that's great. And then
keep us posted for sure.
Yeah, and we can be a part of it. Jenny and I can definitely be a part of it somehow. That'd be
great.
We would love that. Before we wrap things up, you've done a lot of amazing things in your life. Want to hear what you're most proud of? It can be anything.
Personal or professional.
Yes. Easy peasy. It's my kids.
Yes.
It's the decision to step away from corporate I was overwhelmed. But it was also the age of my kids. And I made a concerted effort to be more a part of their lives. And really, they were preteens. And so to be more a part of their lives through those teenage years. And they're both just such wonderful human beings and on the path to do great things. And that, it's not even the legacy of it. I love them so very much. And to see them doing so well is best accomplishment I could have.
Absolutely. I love it. They're lucky to have you as a mom.
Thank you. You're so kind.
You're like, I know I'm a badass. It's all good.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known I was a badass for a long time, but just sometimes I have to remind myself.
Exactly.
My son's always like, he's 9 now, and he's always like, why did you name your show Badass Moms? I'm like, oh, you'll get it someday, buddy. You'll get it.
That's yeah. I watched my son go through that. Like, I don't understand. I get it.
Yeah. Light bulb goes on. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's pretty cool.
Right. That's great. Becca, thank you so much for being on our show. I'm so excited for our listeners to hear all the wonderful things that you had to say today, because I think if it wasn't new to them, it's
a very nice, gentle reminder of the things that they need and can be doing to be their best selves. And then please tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you if they want to participate in some of your coaching and hopefully some of your future retreats.
Okay, sure. Yeah. The easiest way to do it is to go to hotstuffcoaching.com. There's a contact page. You can send me a quick email, or you can also log on to my YouTube channel. So search for Hot Stuff Coaching for Women on YouTube. And I've got videos on sleep, stress, and soon one on managing menopause at work. So
Yeah, you've got great videos.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. This next one is the one I'm the most excited about so far. And I'm so anxious to get it out there. So hopefully in the next few weeks, it'll be up.
Yes, I'm going to go watch
I can't
them
wait
all.
to see it.
I need them all. Thank you so much. It's been lovely chatting with you.
Thank you. It's great to meet you both. Yeah.
Yes, so good to see you.